All right, so my slide improvisation workshop is coming up tomorrow, Saturday, May 18th. And we're going to be going over both open and closed position slide playing, which in my mind, the shorthand for that is Cooder is open position and Duane Allman is closed position. That's, of course, an oversimplification, but it helps me kind of keep those things straight in my head. And what's more, we're going to look at how to do that over an alternating thumb bass so that you can play those kinds of slide licks when you're playing a self-accompanied fingerstyle blues. So in today's YouTube lesson, we're just going to look a little bit at what the difference is between playing an open and closed position and a couple of techniques for the right and the left hand that might help you start to get a handle on those ideas. If you'd like to take part in the workshop itself, it's a 2-hour live stream. There'll be time for questions and answers. I'll go over all the kind of techniques I'm talking about here in much more detail with a downloadable PDF that includes all the exercises and examples that I'll be covering. And you can find out more about that and sign up at the link below or the link on screen. Right now, let's look at a couple of the key differences between playing slide in open position and playing slide up the neck. So for starters, I'm in open D tuning, which Cooder tended to improvise using the open D tuning, saving open G tuning for more of his rhythm stuff. And Duane Allman played in either D or E tuning. Because he was in closed position, it doesn't really matter which one, although most people tend to think it's E because the heightened string tension is better for playing electric slide. The open D tuning has the notes D, A, D, F sharp, A, and D from low to high. I like to think of it in terms of the intervals. So root, fifth, root, third, fifth, root. And the nice thing about that is you can immediately see, oh, look at these notes on the fifth string and the fourth string give you the fifth and the root of D, and so do the top two strings, the fifth and the root. So before you start playing the alternating thumb, you've got access to all 6 strings, right? Because you're not trying to save the bottom strings for the alternating thumb. So you've got these notes on the 5th and the 4th string, and then that stuff reproduces up here. And that goes for the blues notes as well. So you've got this whole collection of stuff you can do. Right, so anything that works down here works up here. And then same way, if you've got a cool thing that works here, that'll work down on the 5th and 4th strings. Like I said, once you start to put in the thumb, now you've kind of got to stick to the upper strings. But that combination of major and minor is still there. And if you're doing some kind of ending lick or stop time break, you can always, leave out the thumb and get back into those lower strings. And you're off and running again. So the open position is great, and when you listen to Cooder play, you hear all this hammer-on and pull-off stuff. Which is part of what makes it sound so swinging, because he's got this sort of 8th note flow going on. And you can practice that as, by looking at the notes that you've got. And then trying to recreate those hammer-ons and pull-offs with the slide. So open position has all these great sounds, but closed position is also pretty excellent. So if I just stay on the 1 chord for now, going up to the 12th fret to also play over a D chord, basically you've got this little box where you can go down from the 12th fret to the 10th fret on every string. Well, so there's going to be some nuances on some of those strings as far as what you want to do. Like here on the 3rd string, you might only want to go down 1 fret to get in flat 3rd and go back to the 3rd. But once you're here, just playing across the 12th fret gives you all that sort of pre-Duane Allman stuff like the Elmore James licks. But the thing that's so amazing about Duane Allman is that he figured out a way to articulate the notes so that you could get very linear sounding stuff and not just big chords. And he did it using this right hand technique where he was always damping the strings he wasn't playing. So using thumb and index, thumb and middle, or some combination of all three to just kind of hold things down. I mean, I don't literally know because there's not really footage of him playing, but this is what it sounds like. And so, you know, you can kind of just drop your thumb, index, and middle onto, say, the top 3 strings and let the side of your thumb rest against the rest. And so now, when you go to get one note, you don't hear everything. And that means that when you slide away, you can get this very articulated sound. And supposedly, Duane Allman got that sound because he was trying to sound more like a harmonica player. You know, when you play those notes where you suck in, you pull the note down, and so you get this. And so by going between a couple of different notes, which would look without the slide like this, you get the sound of one note sliding down and one note sliding up. And if you do it fast, and by moving your fingers back and forth to get whatever strings you don't want to play covered, you can keep all that held down and get this very clean sound. Again, once you're playing with the thumb, you might not be able to get all of that clarity, but you can still get some of those same sounds. And so that gives you this vocabulary that stretches from down here and you can really cover a lot of territory. Now when you get up to the 4 chord and the 5 chord and you're using closed position at the 5th fret and the 7th fret, you are a little more limited. And I talked a little bit in a previous lesson about how to think about the thumb while you're doing these kinds of closed position licks. But it can create the sound that more is going on if you use the open position to lead into the 4 chord or the 5 chord, and even use a little bit of open position to get out of the 4 or the 5 chord. Basically, if you're playing on the 1, using those little pickup phrases from the 1 to the 4 makes it sound like there's a more elaborate phrase happening on the 4 chord. And as you're finishing up the 4 chord, you can actually use the open 4th string on your last thumb beat before you get back to the 1, because it works with the 4 chord. It's the 5th of the G chord, basically. So you could have right? So if you hear those kind of pickup phrases, Create that feeling that there's a lot of motion and momentum as you get in and out of those closed position chords. So if you've been trying to figure out how to improvise with the slide while keeping an alternating thumb going, those are three big things to think about as you get going. First, that you can get all those sounds in the open position using hammer-ons and pull-offs with just basic major and minor pentatonic notes. Second, that you can get a lot more articulation out of the closed position by thinking about those single note sounds and how you can get them while the thumb is going. And finally, using that combination of open and closed position can create a more nuanced sound if you're using open position licks to lead into the closed position, and then even using a little bit of open position to get out of closed position as well. That is a lot of what we're going to be covering in Saturday's workshop, of course, in much more detail. If you're watching this after Saturday, May 18th, there is also an on-demand live replay available. So if you just go and sign up like you were signing up for the live stream, you'll still get access to the entire workshop, the downloadable PDF, and all of that. So if that's something you'd like to check out, go to the link below or the link on screen. And if you've got a question or a comment about any of today's topics, open tuning, playing with the slide, fingerstyle, alternating thumb, leave them for me down below in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.